I'm Michael Drives, and this is the 2023 Kia Niro EV. The Kia Niro EV is in its second generation starting with 2023, and Niro itself actually comes in three different flavors, shall we say, three different electrified powertrains. You can get Niro in a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, or an EV, and that's what we have here today. So let's take a look around. We'll take a look at the outside, the inside, I'll talk a bit about the powertrain, then we'll go for a drive, and at the end of this, I'll give you a summary and also tell you my fabulous favorites and not so favorites about the Kia Niro EV. EV comes in two trims. You have Wind and then the top of the line Wave trim level, which adds a whole lot of niceties like a power sunroof, a Harman Kardon audio system, heads-up display, some advanced driver's assistance features, and several other trims. So instead of chrome around the windows, we have satin. So just a lot of niceties. This EV powertrain is good for 253 EPA estimated miles of range. Now you'll do a little better if you're just in stop and go city driving on a warm day, and you might fare a little worse if it's 10 degrees out and you're going 75 miles an hour down the highway. The horsepower rating on here is 201 horsepower, and it's a front-wheel drive platform. In fact, all Kia Niros are front-wheel drive. That gives you confidence in the winter. It is not available in a rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive platform. But since the motor and everything is up front, packaged in front of the windshield, there's a lot of weight on these wheels. It's nicely balanced, and that gives you great traction. Let's go around under the hood and check out where the frunk is and see what the motor and the charging looks like. Now, even before I pop the hood here, I just wanted to show you that this generation, the second generation Niro, is far more modern, clean, and bold compared to the previous generation. This is lighter, it's actually more efficient, and it's larger than its predecessor. This is a subcompact crossover SUV, but has plenty of room inside of almost a vehicle larger than its class suggests. So looking up here on the front of the car, you can see these nice details. There's not really a fake grille, but there's just some very nice clean details. And the charge port is right here. This is great because you don't have to decide when you pull in what side the charge port is on. You know, in your gas car, you probably know what it is if you have that, or if you have an EV and it has a charge port on the side, you know by now where that charge port is. Don't worry about it with the Kia EV. It's right here, so just pull in to any charger and plug her in. Moving down here, we can see that the Wave trim has LED headlights and LED fog lights built in down below. It's a very clean design, and we'll take a look at the side and the back in a minute, but I think it's just a handsome looking SUV. It's not out there and crazy, but it looks sharp, and I think that it is a pretty timeless design with Kia's design elements. So let's take a look under the hood and see what we have. Here we are under the hood, and this in a Tesla or some other vehicles may be where you would see a front, just a big storage area. But the Niro EV, because it has three different powertrains, packages all of the electric motor and battery controller in the front. So there's not a traditional frunk. You have what looks like a traditional gas engine, but actually under this flap down here, we can see a giant, not really, storage area. So you could hide a couple more iPads, maybe your laptop, an iPhone, and securely store that in here. It does have a seal around the edge, although I don't know how well that seals against the elements. One would have to see. Also here in this storage area is a nice little kind of mini cargo net to hold items down so they're not rattling and shifting about as you're driving. So we're going to close that up and let's take a look at the charge port. Now, as all modern EVs do, this has a charge port, and DC fast charging is standard. Let's go ahead and open this up. You've got your CCS charging standard in here. Nice visual display for when you need to see how much charge you have left. You can see it right here, how far it needs to go. These lights will blink actively. These are sealed for weather, and you have to pull out those little plugs. Not my favorite thing. It's always an extra step. You have to open the flap and then pull out the plugs, but it does protect them against the elements. I'd like to see an all-in-one. See, it's a little fidgety right here. I try to get this thing back in. Love to see some sort of foam here, so it just is a one-step operation and opens up. This is locked if the vehicle were locked. However, it is unlocked right now, so I could just push that, open the flap, and plug in the charger. Something else that's really nifty, my first day I had this car, I decided to top it off and hook it up to a level 2 charger, and it will actually tell you that it is plugged in and charging with an audio announcement, which I thought was pretty cool and was unexpected and was a neat surprise, so that I could just, know that, okay, it's confidently charging, I can lock the car and walk away.
Charging started.
Electricity can go in here from your household electrical outlet, your level 2 charger in your garage, or you can hook up to a DC fast charger, right? By pulling out both ports, plugging in that big CCS cable. One of the neat things here is that you can actually take electricity out, and this could be handy if you're on a camping trip, if you are, at a friend's house, but having a backyard party, you want to show off and say, hey, just don't forget that little generator. So what you can do is go back in the Wave Edition, the V2L adapter comes standard, and the V2L is vehicle to load. This is the vehicle, and whatever you plug into it is the load. Now you can't take a wall outlet and just plug it into the front of the CCS port, but this handy adapter that comes in the back of the Kia Niro EV will take care of that. And so you take this and you will unhook the charge port here. Then you take your load, whatever that is. Maybe you're at a camping site and you want a little fresh coffee. Well, I'd like some fresh ground coffee. So I'm gonna plug that in here, and voila, we have 110 volts. So if your power were to go out in your house, you could actually plug your refrigerator into here for days. If you're at a campsite and you wanna make some air-popped popcorn, or you wanna grind up a smoothie or some fresh ground coffee, you can do that. Super handy, all sorts of needs. Now, Kia does say, do not use this in inclement weather. So don't use it in the rain, don't use it in the snow. What does that leave you with? I will show you. If you're in the back of the car and say you want to grind some coffee, say it's raining out and you don't want to use the front V2L adapter, just come back here, take your 3-prong outlet. This is a 2-prong, but it's the same concept. And down here is the power port, and you're just going to plug it in there. And there is a little cover over the plug, so fingers can't accidentally go in there. You have to use the key for the car to just give it a little twist. That key's located inside the key fob. So you give it a little twist to the unlock position, slide the port door over, and you can then plug in whatever you want in there. Now I should mention, this EV will do 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds. So it's not a slouch, but it's not a race car either. One of the things I wanted to show you are these handsome 17-inch wheels down here. The whole design of the car is very nice, very cohesive. You've got these nice turn signal LEDs in the side view mirrors. All Niro trims come with a roof rack, and then back here you have this element which Kia calls the Aeroblade. Now, it doesn't always come in a contrast. That's on some trim levels and colors. However, you can get this contrasting in the snow white pearl. You can get this gray optional contrasting Aeroblade. And I was a little taken aback at first when I saw this car when it was introduced to the public. I didn't love the Aeroblade because it just seemed like a big cheesy add-on. I've seen design elements of other cars. It's actually functional, and this is really cool. And I want to show you in a second. If you look from the back here, these boomerang taillights, the air can actually slip through here and exit out the rear, and that helps with the overall aerodynamics of this vehicle. The Niro EV has a 0.29 drag coefficient, which is really slick. It really moves through the air for a somewhat large, more upright vehicle. And the cargo area that we're about to see has 50% more space than a Tesla Model 3. So let's take a look at that. Now, coming around to the back side of the Niro EV, you can see where this Aeroblade and the boomerang taillight, nice LEDs, exit and sort of wrap around the side. It's very clean. I've seen some EVs, which we won't mention names, kind of plain and dull back here. This is nicely finished off from top to bottom, because remember, Kia has to hide a pretty large battery underneath the car. It doesn't look like they're trying to hide something and the car's all propped up on its heels. It's clean back here. Now, to open up the rear smart lift gate, we just hit the button under here. It's gonna beep, and it has electric lift. Super nice and handy. Now, down in here, you've got a big storage area. The seats fold forward, so of course we can just give those a flip forward, and that really extends what you have here as far as a cargo area. I mean, this is huge. This is what you want, especially if you only have one vehicle, but this car can literally do it all. A hatchback design just allows you to put in, you know, a giant box, something big. You can leave it open. You know, I don't recommend this, and drive a short distance. But if you have something large that extends out the back, if it's properly secured, you can put that in here. Looking down here, now we've got a handle here on the floorboard. This is a nice, clean sort of. You can take luggage and don't have to lift it over a big tailgate. It's almost even with the bumper. Lifting this up. Down here we will find room for storage. So built into here is the tire inflator kit, nicely arranged. There's a beautiful pull down handle. Now I would be shocked how many cars with trunks and hatches do not have a pull down somewhere to grab. And in this car you don't even need it because it has the electric function where you just hit the button and the tailgate will drop down. However, this has a gorgeous handle. It's obvious, it's easy to grab, and I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to hit the button, and let's take a look at the inside of the car. Now, moving to the inside of the Niro EV, we see a very nice, clean design. This interior is a light gray interior, and I really like this. The previous generation only kind of came in sort of darker grays. I haven't seen a light gray version of that. But the whole aesthetic is very modern and clean. You have two 12.25-inch screens that kind of combine one panoramic display up here on top. Very nice, very modern. Down here, we've got the wheel that selects the gear that you want to go in. We'll call it a gear. It's actually just reverse, neutral, and drive. So turn the dial to whichever you would like to set off and sail. However, hit the P button for park in the center. It takes up a lot of room, but it's very functional. It's very easy to use. I don't think you'll get tripped up with this. Being the Wave model, we've got heated and cooled front seats here, a button to activate the camera if you would like for parking. And then down here we have an electronic brake, emergency brake, so you can use that. Now down here in the cup holder, you can lay a giant bottle in here. That would be fine, but you kind of probably want your liquids upright. Well, you can do that. You can have a mug with a handle, set it down in here, or if you want to secure your thing, whatever, your water bottle, you can just actually hit this button. This little sort of arm comes out and cradles your water bottle. That works for both of them, driver and passenger, whichever you are at the time, and voila, very nice. Another neat thing we have in this Niro EV is ambient lighting here in the passenger side. It's just a nice little touch. There's some other ambient lighting effects in this car, but this one is just, it's kind of cool, it's kind of techy. Down here we've got the Qi charger, and then we have a standard traditional USB, and then a USB-C port as well as a 12-volt power outlet should you have something that requires that sort of larger power socket. Great positioning for the Qi charger. This car of course does have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and I love the display, the large display for using Apple CarPlay. Over here on the steering wheel you have controls for your audio, you have controls for your driver assistance features, and a neat little button down here for drive mode. Very easy to find. You can actually turn drive mode from eco to normal, comfort, and then sport. And sport really will give you all of the acceleration available in the car, make it just really responsive. And of course eco is going to sort of, it's as if you're feathering the accelerator. It's just going to use much less power for how far you put down the accelerator. Looking up here at the dashboard, one of the things I did not like about the car is that it has these analog gauges to start out with. And I just felt like, why are we replicating old gauges when we could have something super modern and take advantage of this gorgeous digital display? Then in the settings, I found out that you can actually change it to what I think Kia calls it dynamic. I'll have to go back and look, but it's more modern and it just is a really clean kind of like, oh, this is the car of the future, right? Super spacious in the front. I'm 5'9". I think this seat's pretty well slid up. These are electric power seats, and I can just take a little ride and show you how far back that they do go. and that's now at its back limit. The seats are supportive, they're comfortable, they're not over bolstered, they're not under bolstered, they're just a really nice fit. Another thing to note, in this car we've got synthetic materials. There are no animal materials used in the Niro EV, and the headliner is actually made of recycled wallpaper, so that's really a cool feature. A lot of reuse of materials in this generation. The seats, another thing I really like about them, the headrests. They just look cool. Like there's, you know, they could just pop out of the seat like any other car, but Kia has this design. It carries over from the EV6, and we'll probably see it in other vehicles. It's just really nice. So I'm very comfortable in this seat. One of the things that Kia has in their prior generation Niro that tripped me up when I had this as a test car is that it had the radio on top and the HVAC below, or maybe it was reversed. Regardless, I thought I was turning the radio up a few times, and then all of a sudden I would break out into a sweat because I realized I turned the heat up. They had the volume knob and the HVAC, you know, cool or hot knob sort of right next to each other. So if you're driving along, and these knobs were about the same size, so if you're driving along and you just reach down, you may not be hitting the knob that you want. So Kia consolidated the radio, infotainment, and HVAC into one panel. Now this combines the systems, and you just push a button in the middle and it changes from the radio controls, because this is a touch capacitive screen, to, and then the function of the knobs change from hot and cold for driver and passenger to radio, and then the tuning knob. So you've got volume and tuning knob on one side. Now, if you're the driver, you reach down, there's one knob, but you don't know which mode it's necessarily in at the time. So you want to push the button here and control your volume there, or you have to take your eyes off the road, look down, and change the mode from HVAC to your audio system. So I don't know if they fully solved the problem that I had with the car before. If you just use the steering wheel volume control, you're in a safe space. Or if you have a passenger, they can look down and figure out which mode it's in and make the appropriate adjustments. One of the things I will say is that the where you switch it from HVAC to, you know, navigation and infotainment, it's not physically, you can't feel it on the dash. It'd be nice if there were a detent, if your finger fell in there, if there was some other control to flip between those two, but you can't do it without taking your eyes off the road. A little bit of a pet peeve of mine. So looking over here on the steering wheel, two other things I want to point out. These paddles on the left and right, those are for regen. You can increase it, decrease it, or you have an auto mode. I do like to leave it in auto. So far I've had success with that, and no problems. Again, you have a heads-up display. I don't even notice that it's there in almost every vehicle that I drive because I wear polarized sunglasses, and that pretty much wipes it out. I will say I did take them off to check out the system, and it is a very clean design. It's very nicely laid out. It's simple. There aren't a lot of overcomplicated graphics in this display. Another thing I love about Kias, and it's present in this car, is if you go to change the wiper speed, you will see it actually in the display. So you know which position the wipers are in without looking at the wiper stalk. Same with the headlights. You're going to see feedback on the display of where you've changed your headlights. If you've changed it from auto to maybe your parking lamps, or shut it completely off, you'll know the position of the switch because there's a readout on the dash. Same for adjusting the power seats. If you move the power seats, it's going to show you which direction you're moving in it, and it's going to light up on here. I don't know if that's as useful as the other ones as far as the lighting and the steering wheel, or sorry, as the lighting and the windshield wipers. Love that. Now let's take a look at the back seat and see what we have back there. Well, hello there. Now that we're in the back seat, I want to show you a few features I think are really nice in this Niro EV. One of them, the back of the seat, so I like the seat design overall, I shared that earlier, but there's actually a big kind of hook here, handle, so you could, you know, hold on to get in and out of the car. That's great. But also it functions as a coat rack. You can hang a sport coat or a jacket or anything else over here. Say you don't have any backseat passengers, you can put a giant, you know, winter coat, hang it on there, and it's hung up. That's a nice feature. I really like that. Of course, these headrests are movable and adjustable, but to the back seat, that's where we are. Down here, we've got rear ventilation. This is awesome. As someone who just picked up a puppy a few days ago and had to drive 3.5 hours in a car that did not have rear ventilation, I had to blast the normal HVAC and sort of try and send it through the car in the center over to the backseat passenger, who was holding new puppy, which you'll get to meet soon, I hope. Anyway, cars. So center armrest, very nice. We've got 2 cup holders in here, and we have USB-C for both backseat passengers. It does hold 3, but we've got USB-C ports right here on the sides of the seat. Super handy, easy to get to. I really like that feature. And we have, of course, pockets back here. These have little stretchy things, so you've got map pockets. Nobody really has maps anymore. You might have maps, that's fine, not judging. But you can put things in here, and then you'll find them 10 years later. Over here on the door panels, again, I'm 5'9". I was fiddling with the seat before. We have adequate room here. This would be fine for a road trip. I can kick the front passenger if I want to. Whoops. And also, so we've got heated seats in this trim. This is nice. Heated rear seats, heated front seats. Everybody's going to be comfortable in the car in the winter. That leads me to another thing about the Niro EV. You can get optional battery heating and a heat pump, and where this helps is it helps make the range longer in the winter months, and it helps precondition the battery when you need to charge it, so that it brings it to temperature better. And that is an option on the Wave trim. This car does have it included. So one thing I noticed about this car, it does not have a cargo cover. So if you have something expensive, you just made a trip to the big box store, your back's loaded up, but you want to, stop somewhere else, say downtown for lunch or wherever in a parking lot, standard, there's no cargo cover that comes in the back. I bet this is an option. I haven't looked it up. And one more thing I will point out back here is that this trim, this light gray trim, has perforated gray seats. So this is really nice. I think perforation obviously allows the seats to breathe better. These front seats are heated and cooled, but the back seats, of course, in this model are just heated, in this trim level, are heated only. But if they were not perforated, might be a little warmer on your back. I like air movement, I like fresh air, so this is really good. One of the things I mentioned earlier was the heads-up display. And this heads-up display is top-notch. It's going to tell you if there's a car in your blind spot. So the blind spot monitoring is actually in the heads-up display, and I've been using that a lot. I said I didn't really pay attention to the heads-up display earlier. Well, it's super easy to use. It's when you don't have sunglasses on. That little chime there, another nice thing, it tells me the car in front of me is leading away, so that I'm not, distracted doing something else, talking to my passenger, recording a video. I'm heading on down the road now. And anytime that you're stopped somewhere and the car in front of you leaves, but you don't, it pulls forward, you'll get that nice little chime, a reminder like, hey buddy, pay attention. It might prevent you from that errant, angry, honker, impatient person behind you. So super nice feature to have. But the heads-up display, back to that, love it. It's crisp, it's simple, it's easy to read when you don't have sunglasses on, and it shows you all of your driver assistance capabilities in there. A blind spot monitoring, if you have active cruise control going, super handy. I really like this feature, and it works nicely, and that is only again in the Wave trim. One of my other favorite things is that it's just easy to see out of. You're at a great driving position, you're not too high up, the dash is not, blocking, it's not at eye level, it's nice and low, and this seat is almost down to the bottom, so I could jack it up much higher. There's plenty of headroom in this first row for the driver and passenger, and in the back seat. That's one of the nice things, because the rear roof line does not slope drastically, it gives you plenty of headroom. If you're coming from a traditional gas-powered compact SUV, then you're going to be blown away by the acceleration and just the smoothness of the car, because it is electric. In summary, this is a pretty fantastic car. 253 miles of range, it has DC fast charging, it has vehicle to load capability, it's loaded with tech features, and it's plenty room with the higher roof in the back. Your passengers are going to be comfortable, no one's going to be cramped for headroom, most likely. So, thumbs up to this car. It impressed me far more than I thought it would. I just love the technology inside. This brings me to my fabulous faves. A sunroof that opens, absolutely awesome. And I love the Harman Kardon stereo that's available in this car too. I love the 253 miles of range. The driver's assistance features and the safety features in this car are top notch. The heads-up display is clear and easy to use. So all of these give a huge thumbs up. And the Aeroblade, wait, can't forget that one. Super neat feature because it's actually functional. Now, not so favorite things about this car, the charging speed on DC level 3 fast charging. So 10 to 80% in under 45 minutes, because that's actually about 43 minutes that it'll take this car. Well, that's not really, as fast as the latest products that are coming out, even compared to a Kia EV6. So that car can charge up in about, a little less than half the time that this one can if you're on a road trip. Now, for everyday living, if this is your only car and you can charge at home or charge at the neighborhood grocery store, absolutely fantastic. You're gonna love it. And you can take road trips. It's just gonna take a little bit longer. So, get dessert when you're stopping for a food break. I wanna thank you for watching. Please hit that subscribe button if you have not yet down in the lower corner. If you have, thank you. If you have not, go ahead. If you like this video, please subscribe. If you didn't like it, please subscribe. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to showing you the next car on the next review. Take care.